We have to talk about Barbenheimer, which is just about one of the craziest things that's happened to movies in the last 5 years, 10 years. An extraordinary box office performance. $511 million worldwide. Both Oppenheimer and Barbie grossed. $235 million domestic. There is just a heap of records that were shattered when these two movies were released. $155 million for Barbie stateside, $182 million abroad, $80 million for Oppenheimer this weekend in America.
We were just very wrong, you and I.
We did our best to, I think, overshoot, and we still got it. We both guessed about 140, I think, for Barbie, and so we were not too far off. Right. We only guessed at 47 and 52, I think.
Yeah, we were just wrong. It's important to say we were wrong.
There's been a lot of writing and analysis about the incredible performance of these two movies. They obviously, I think, helped each other. I think creating a movie event that was driven by social media, by studio marketing, by the let's go back to the movies. I saw people at the movies this weekend.
As did I.
I saw both films again, and there were so many people at the movies. It was extraordinary.
Did people come up to you with tears in their eyes and say, "See you here"?
I did have a man, this is a true story, whisper into my ear, "Love the pods," while I was urinating. And that was not a good situation for me personally. Not one of the best moments of my weekend.
Was he also urinating?
I think he had finished, he had completed, and he was exiting the urinal, and he caught my profile.
Okay.
Nevertheless, Amanda, what'd you think of the Barbenheimer performance this weekend?
It was delightful. I went back to the movies on Friday afternoon, and it was just absolutely packed. I watched a lot of young people engage with the Barbie box station and then go into Oppenheimer. A lot of young guys, actually. But no, there were a lot of people in pink as well. It was good vibes and very fun to be there. And it felt like being part of an experience. So that was lovely. And then it seemed like everyone I know either went to the movies or, in the case of Chris Ryan, couldn't get a ticket.
I tried to go to see Oppenheimer for a second time on Sunday night. I went and saw Barbie on Friday night, similar to Amanda. It was just a banging night out at the AMC in Glendale, and people wearing pink, people like staggering out of Oppenheimer, people getting dinner afterwards to talk about the movies. All the restaurants around the movie theater were pretty packed, but that's like the kind of knock-on effect is if movies are doing well, the things that are around movies do well. There's like our beloved ArcLight, which closed on Sunset years ago.
ArcLight would have been rocking.
But all of the businesses around ArcLight are closing too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just, there is like an actual connective tissue between movie theaters and pedestrian kind of community and excitement and commerce and all that stuff. That's another podcast. That's when I go on plain English and I tell Derek all about it.
I think Derek would love to have you.
I went to try to go see Oppenheimer this weekend, and I have never seen this since I started buying tickets online for movies. This website is broken because of too much volume, too much traffic. Please come back in 5 minutes.
Wow.
For the Regal in Alhambra.
I mean, this is just incredible stuff. $300 million U.S. box office across the board for all films this weekend, including Sound of Freedom, Mission Impossible 7, number of other releases. This is the largest, I think, since Spider-Man No Way Home. And I think the last time it was this high was Avengers Endgame weekend, which was $350 million, which was really the before times. That was when it felt like the box office was still skyrocketing every day.
It turns out, if you tell moviegoers, we've got something really amazing to show you, they do get excited, and it can be something more than in the post-credits sequence. We will tease what's coming out in 2 more years.
Oh, I wanted to ask you both about that. I think there will be a desperation to have takeaways from why these two films were so successful, and in all likelihood will continue to be successful for the next month because the release calendar is not the most thrilling. The Meg 2 notwithstanding. Shout out Garbage Fish coming soon. What do you think is the takeaway here that new is what has gotten people excited? Is it that original is exciting in a kind of redefined way? Is it just as Matt Bellany suggested, just a fluke?
I'm half with Matt Bellany, and I don't want to say fluke because I think that undercuts like the tremendous amount of work and success that both filmmaking teams and then also both marketing teams did in actually, as Chris said, telling people, hey, we have something new, but also like really telling people they sold the shit out of this. And there isn't an event element to this. I saw someone on Twitter, I wish I could remember who, compare it also to the success of the Taylor Swift tour and Beyonce's reputation. No, Renaissance tour. Reputation is an old Taylor Swift album. Anyway, that there is also just like a real sense of fanfare and a little bit of scarcity built into all of this, and a little bit of scarcity built into this weekend. Like it was both movies at once. It's the fact that, I understand that Christopher Nolan and/or Universal were a little miffed at the idea of Warner Brothers taking his special weekend for Barbie, but I think that played in both of their favors.
No doubt.
And so I think that is hard to replicate. I don't think you can replicate this whole fanfare every weekend, both because you can't make two movies like this. I don't think that anyone has the budget and the time to market like this. And also at some point, if you do it every weekend, then there isn't that specialness, that scarcity element. I do think the other thing is that, at least in the case of Barbie, the movies served audiences that aren't typically served at the movies. And they served them like very smartly and with a lot of capitalism behind it. But, it's like a lot of my friends, many of whom are women who don't typically go to the movies, went to the movies this weekend. I think that's true across the board. So maybe there's a lesson in that. I hope there's a lesson in it. I don't think they'll be able to replicate it, but I don't know. Maybe if you make movies for people, they will go. Just an idea.
The comparison I've seen most often made in terms of release weekends was when The Dark Knight was released, and it was the same weekend that Mamma Mia was released. And that was a time when it felt as though both of those audiences that you're describing were being served, and both of those films performed very well. Now, The Dark Knight obviously had very long legs, but Mamma Mia got a sequel as well. That is in a way a franchise unto itself. And I'm not sure if after Dark Knight and Mamma Mia, anybody in the C-suite of the major studios was like, what did we do right here?
Well, I do think that there is...
when did you put the hat back on?
Well, it is really bright, so I just wanted to... But there is a really special thing that happens that's kind of gotten lost in summer blockbusters over the last few years, where most of the time, especially for the superhero movies that have come out and the comic book movies that come out, there's usually a fan enthusiasm and a critical eye rolling. But when you get the two rowing in the same direction, and I'm going back as far as like The Fugitive, The Matrix, Jurassic Park, where people are like, critics being like, I cannot believe how good this is. This is so amazing. The medium has been pushed forward. And fans who were in the initial word of mouth camp coming out and being like, it's better than I could have possibly imagined. That truly does spark we have to go see this weekend. We can't be left behind when we want to go out to a bar and talk about stuff. And we haven't seen Barbie or we haven't seen Oppenheimer to have an opinion.
I think that they worked in each other's favor in that respect too.
Yeah.
Because if just Barbie had been released, I think there might have been more angst about some of the inherent IP-ness of the film. And if it had been just Oppenheimer, there would have been more Nolan criticisms and more like, are we sure this was a good idea? And there was plenty of that to go around. I'm not personally as interested in that, but I think both films being critically acclaimed and successful drives that exact feeling that you're saying. It kind of feeds on each other. Just really exciting. I mean, it's impossible to know what films will be developed because of the success of these two movies. I was less surprised by the Barbie success just because we've been told for the last month or so that it was trending in this direction. You really can't overstate how crazy $80 million is for a 3-hour biopic in the middle of the summer. There's really just no precedent for it. It's never happened.
Honestly can't get into, because if you want to see it the way you're supposed to see it, it's like so scarce.
Yeah.
And because it's 3 hours, like you said, I was telling you last night where I was like, I can't get in to Oppenheimer today, and you were like, that's probably like a screen issue. That's probably like they can't turn it over that many times. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Barbie's on over 4,000 screens in America and is playing nonstop. Plus, if Oppenheimer is getting on those screens.
Yeah, I had no problem getting into Barbie on Friday night, which is obvious. Doesn't
you
matter.
went on Thursday night.
No problem getting in on Thursday night, which is even
opening
more.
Night, yeah,
opening night.